Hi, friends. Today I want to talk to you about Beltany, which is book one in the Circle of Nine series by Valerie Biel. I chose this book as a part of the Partners in Crime book tour, and I picked it because witchy magical realism is my absolute favorite. When a witchy book passes in front of me, I will probably always pick it. My gosh, I couldn't put it down. I just immediately was absorbed into this magical world that Biel had created. And like I said, magical realism, particularly written in a way that feels like historical fiction, is my favorite genre. And so I love to just get totally immersed into the storyline and into the characters. And I could definitely do that with this book. The story was structured in such a way where our main character, Bridget, was given this book about her ancestors. And as she read through each of these stories, she really got to experience what they had experienced. And there was this kind of magical essence to how the stories came to life for her. What I liked most about this structure is that each woman kind of had their own significant portion of the overall story of Beltany. And because Bridget's life was happening at the same time while she was reading these stories and experiencing these past timelines, they greatly affected her and they got woven into how she grew and who she was becoming. I feel like because of that style, I also got very emotionally attached to each of those women as well. And each of their stories became the main story when it was in focus. And I think that that's the mark of a good series because I'm not done. I want to learn more. I want to get to know them even more. I love it when a bad guy is not just a bad guy just for the sake of being a bad guy, but they're bad because of something. Something happened to them. Something caused them to seek revenge or to feel resentful or to feel wronged. And I love that there was so much backstory to that. It wasn't just a bad person or an evil character. It was somebody who was hurting and they didn't handle it well. And so they lashed out or sought revenge, and it affected everybody for generations to come. And I just feel like that's such a great way for a foundation to take root, is to have so many of those details so that we're not just learning the story, but we're learning why and how did they get here and what happened to them to make them this way. And I just loved it. The overall tone was obviously very witchy, but also very familial. This family was Irish. In fact, they had a tradition of traveling to Ireland to celebrate Beltane. A lot of these seasonal celebrations were woven in throughout the story. And that's something that's always been interesting to me, the Sabbats and Ireland in particular, and the way that they celebrate the changing of the seasons and the symbolism and the meanings behind all of that for them. It's so interesting. And that was very appropriately heavy in this story because the familial vibe was also very rooted in these traditions and rituals. And I really loved learning about it. I felt like I got to go to Ireland and experience it myself through each woman's story. There was also just this sense of grounding and rooting into where you came from and these family traditions and beliefs that formed who they were. So folklore and the rituals themselves became sort of their own support system through the chaos that was unfolding in everybody's lives. I absolutely loved it. I was sad when it was over. I didn't want it to end, and I honestly cannot wait to start book number 2 and 3 and however many more there are after that. I would recommend these books for everybody because they're my favorite, but definitely if you like witchy magical realism, Irish folk tales, any kind of witchy mystery. I guess it always surprises me that well into my 30s, I still enjoy a good YA book. I mean, YA books were what drew me into reading in the first place. I mean, don't get me wrong, I read a lot as a child. I read picture books and my mom always read to me, but YA books turned me into an avid reader, and I would just stay up until 2 a.m. reading books as a teenager. And so I guess I expected that when I became a seasoned adult, I would outgrow some of these younger teenage stories, but I just don't. They're written so well, I think, that even though I am an adult and I no longer go to high school and I no longer have high school struggles, I can still resonate because I was there. I have been in high school. I have been that age. I have had a first crush or a first heartbreak. While I've never quite experienced having a magical family, I have definitely experienced a lot of the more emotional real life struggles that Bridget was going through. And so I think I just need to get over expectation that I've outgrown YA books, because every time I read a YA book, I just love it. And it takes me back to the magic that I loved about reading as a teenager. If you would like to read my review on my blog, I have linked that below. And I've added this book to my 2025 book stack on Amazon, so you can check it out for yourself. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, please like, comment, and subscribe so you can help my channel grow and we can all enjoy reading together. I hope you have a delightful day.